Hi, so today I just wanted to talk about my 2017 Santa Cruz Hightower that I've had for a couple of months now. It obviously is pretty new to me. I've been out on it twice now, I think, just a little bit of a playing in the woods sort of nearby me, and then I've been to Landegla once on it, so not really got much in the way of that much experience on the bike, but absolutely loving what I have ridden so far. A little bit of background: I had a number of bikes over the years, and at Common Cell Meta, up until a couple of months back, sort of mid last year. I got rid of that for Specialized Enduro because I'd always wanted an Enduro, and the time had come really to get something a little bit better, a little bit more modern. That Enduro kind of saw a few rides, and I had some really good times with that, and really enjoyed going out on that bike and getting out there and actually riding. But something didn't click with it, so I kind of made a few changes. I put a Cane Creek inline coil on it, and that was really good. It's a good shock. It's a really good shock. I definitely enjoyed the bike enough to destroy the rear wheel and all that kind of thing. So I had a lot of fun on it, but it just, something didn't sit right. So I was just at work one day and browsing paint bike, and this Hightower frame popped up. Some guy just selling it. He'd had it a year and he wanted to change, and I was in the same boat. I wanted something new, wanted something different, and this came up. So that morning I'd had no intention of getting a bike or anything like that, and then that evening I was the owner of this Hightower. I just texted my mate and I was like, do you fancy coming picking up a new bike tonight, that sort of thing, or a new frame tonight. So we headed down, we got that. It seemed fine, we just bought it out the back of someone's car sort of thing. He was a really sound guy, so no concerns there or anything. I built the bike up with the parts that came on the Enduro that I bought late last year, and I guess today I just wanted to go through that and kind of just give you a bit of a breakdown of what bike it is I'm going to be riding, really on this channel, mainly. Or certainly for now, it's going to be my bike that I'm going to be sticking to. I do have a little jump bike that I've got, but that is, it's pretty bad. It's ugly. So that's just like a little rat bike that I'll probably get out and about and do some videos on that. I'm not really a very good jumper. I'm not brilliant at jumping a bike, which is maybe why I didn't get on with the Enduro. I think maybe it wants a bit much of you. The geometries of these just seem to be about right for what I wanted, in terms of it's got a bit more standover and a little bit more playful. The jump bike's there to try and get my skills up and kind of improve me in that sense. So I guess through the year we'll try and document that, and no doubt that'll be pretty embarrassing, so we'll look forward to that. Anyway, on to the Hightower. So as I said before, it's a 2017 Santa Cruz Hightower, in that Sriracha red, or however it is you pronounce it. I have no idea. Red. It's a red bike. Got the frame, got it home, gave it a really good clean up, really good polish, because it kind of looked like it needed a bit of love. The frame is a large, like I said before. The geometry just seemed about right for what I wanted. It had a really low standover, which is really good. Nice little bike in that sense. It's nice, and it feels small for a large, I guess. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, I'm open to being corrected on that, but it feels like small for what I imagine most large bikes would be. It certainly feels smaller than my Enduro. I must admit the geometry numbers actually stack up quite similar to the Enduro, but it just feels smaller. So I don't know, go figure. Maybe I don't know enough about bikes or whatever, but that's just how it feels to me. The frame, frame's all good. It's a CC frame. So that kind of lightweight carbon. I'll be honest, I thought it was a C, and then it was only right before I bought it that I actually realised that it was the CC, which is supposed to be a bit lighter, but for the same strength. I mean, honestly, I'm not really that bothered. It's it's a bike, and it is what it is, really. It's 200 grams on a bike of this kind of weight. I mean, I'm not saving every gram everywhere. I don't think it really matters. But it's nice to have it, I guess, or not have that weight, I suppose you could say. Shock is the OEM Monarch RT3. That's the shock that came on the bike when the guy bought it, and from what he said, he switched it out straight away for, I don't know, something else. And that shock's effectively never been ridden, as far as I'm aware. like I say, I've taken it out twice and it feels fine. I've read mixed things on the RT3 and it kind of, the jury's out as to whether that'll be what I want long term. I do like quite a nice, a good amount of traction on the back of a bike, I guess, so does everybody. But at the same time, you know, you don't want it to be boring. So I guess if it's not quite perfect, that could be kind of fun. I don't know, but we'll see. But I'm certainly going to keep it stock for now. I think when you start messing with bikes and, you know, and all that sort of stuff, you're not necessarily going to go down the right road. So I want to make sure that any upgrades I do make are the right ones. People long shock these and stick a longer stroke shock in, same eye to eye but the longer stroke. Get that to travel up, you know, from the 135 to about 150. I'm not really sure if it's something I want to get into. You know, it's a 135mm travel 29er. I mean, that sounds, it's a good recipe to me. You know, it's fast and that sounds good fun to me. Fast is fun, so that's fine. So I've got no intention of going up in terms of shock size, and I've got no intention of actually going up in terms of model either. Moving on from that, I've stuck these Santa Cruz custom decals on. I mean, custom decals, they're the ones you can get from Santa Cruz. They've got about six or seven different colours and they're like 12 quid or something. But I just thought I'd sort of livened it up a little bit from the red on red, which I wasn't as keen for. Works well for this, it's what I like. I like my bike to have a little bit of liveliness to it, but that's absolutely fine. Obviously I know everyone's each their own. Going from very lively to very boring, I've got RockShox pikes on these on this bike, and they are stealth, obviously, as you can see. Stealth pikes. I've changed the decals. They were from Slick Decals or Slick Graphics, whatever they're called. I believe they're like over in Scandinavia or something. But anyway, they're really, really good quality. Really impressed with them. Yeah, so decals are decals. I mean, that's not the most interesting thing in the world. The fork is a 160mm fork, which is pretty long actually for a Hightower in 29er configuration, you know, as this is. And I don't know, it was the fork that came on my Enduro, so I wanted to reuse it. I didn't really have the budget to go getting some, you know, shorter travel, whatever, you know, 36s or whatever it might have been, and I didn't really want to get into that. I was happy with the forks. I just had them serviced by Rick over at Slick and Slide. Really impressed with him. He's absolutely awesome, really nice guy, really, really friendly guy. And if you need any suspension tuning, or I don't know about tuning, but certainly servicing, I don't know what tuning he does, I'm sure he does. I'll let him, you know, do his own advertising, but he's over in Macclesfield and I can't recommend him enough. He's really, really good. But yeah, so 160mm fork on this, pretty long definitely, but I don't think it's outside the realms of, you know, what the bike can take. As I say, I've ridden it over at Landegler and it was absolutely fine. It felt really, really good. No major issues on the climbing other than my, you know, gut and inability to do much climbing. It's not really my thing, although I do need to get better at that. Going up onto the cockpit, I've got Fun stem and handlebar. They're 810 bars. It's pretty wide actually. I mean, I know, you know, these days bars are going back down in width, even though I guess that width bar, you know, at one time was crazy wide, and then it kind of went to almost like, well, that's not too wide, and now it's going back down again to that is wide actually. So I probably do want to try cutting them down, but I don't want to go too far down. I'm probably going to get I tend to get Spank Vibracore bar because I wouldn't mind a little bit of vibration damping in the bar, but I don't really want to go carbon, just for a few reasons. And yeah, so I think I'm going to probably get Spank Vibracore. So what I'll probably do is just, they're coming a little bit shorter, I believe, than 810, so that's great. The rise is like, it's not got much rise. I can't remember exactly the size on it, but it's not a massively high riser bar. I'm pretty tall. I'm 6'1", so when I'm on the bike, I don't necessarily want the bars right up in front of me. I've got, you know, most of my space is under my stem as it is, so I have the front end reasonably high, and it's obviously got the 160 fork. I don't really want the bars to be that much higher, but they feel okay at the moment. Maybe a slightly more rise on the Spanks when I get them, or the Spank. Grips, Renthal Super Tacky grips. They're absolutely brilliant. I really like them. I love that you can just give them a wash and they kind of come back to life a little bit. You know, they almost feel like they've got glue on them, which is absolutely awesome. I love that. So moving on to the brakes, I've got Shimano XT brakes, mismatching levers because, you know, who doesn't love that? It's mainly because the rear lever just got completely gunked up and stuck. I believe it's a bit of a common problem with the XTs. Just replace the lever for now instead of getting rid of the whole brakes. It's maybe something that I might come to change in the future. But yeah, the calipers are stock XT calipers. I got a 203mm rotor on the front and a 180 on the rear. I don't believe they're the right rotors, but yeah, well, these things happen. Drivetrain, I've got an XT 10-speed drivetrain. That's working absolutely fine, to be honest. I had some issues with it on my Enduro. That was largely down to the fact that the wheel was absolutely haggard and it was so bent that it was actually causing problems with gear slipping, I guess because the free hub was getting moved around a little bit and it wasn't really doing it any good, and I was getting some slipping, but this seems to be absolutely fine on this. So I've got a Brand X Ascend dropper on the bike. Yeah, good dropper seat post. I really do like it. They're pretty cheap. You get them from Chain Reactions for like 120 quid. You sometimes get one off for a little bit less. I like them because they're just simple. I've read some really good reviews about them in terms of what they offer, in terms of their longevity, if you like, and they seem to last quite a long time, which is really good. The muddy conditions you get, especially when they're up here in the north of England, like it's pretty crap out there. So it's nice to have something that the reviews say that it's going to last you a long time. Only thing I would say is I probably would like a longer drop on it. So getting that relationship between the top of the saddle down to its minimum position or its lowest position and getting that balance right. I prefer to just have a longer drop, and I wouldn't have to worry about that. I could just have it all the way down or all the way up, and anywhere in between, and it'd be perfect. So I probably will go for the Ascend XL or maybe a 1-up one at some point in the future. Cranks, Shimano Z cranks. I think they're 170mm long. I can't remember. They're probably about 170mm long. They're the non-boost ones because they were really cheap when I bought the frame. They were pretty much what I wanted to spend. Nice strong crank. I mean, the Z stuff is really good, but ultimately, yeah, they were a good priced crank at the time. But they are non-boost. I only run a 32 tooth chainring anyway, so that's pretty good. Clearance down there is pretty tight, I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty snug, but a couple of rides in and there's no signs of it moving and or connecting or anything like that. And there's good clearance. You just quite a few mil clearance. It's absolutely fine. I guess if I was to upgrade, yeah, I probably would go for some boost cranks just to get that clearance for a bigger chainring. But truth be told, for now, it's absolutely fine. For the long sort of or medium to long future, I can't see that changing for me. I'm probably going to leave that as it is. Nuke-proof pedals. I've had these on for absolutely ages. They are old and battered, but it's like a really nice pair of trainers. You just like them, and I can't really change them because I like the feel of them. There's nothing wrong with them. They're not broken. They're plastic pedals, or nylon pedals, whatever it is they're made of. So they're nice and reasonably light. They take a real beating and they just keep bouncing back, and they've been absolutely brilliant. They're probably one of the things I'm most impressed about on the bike, or overall my bikes that I've had. They've been on my bikes since the common self. I've just kept transferring them over. They've been to demo days, all sorts. I've used them and I use them. Pedals are pedals, of course, but I think, like I say, once you get a set of pedals that you really like, it's hard to move on from that. Moving on to the back of the bike, I've got a DT Swiss M502 rim built onto a DT Swiss 350 hub. I built this myself. It's my first wheel I've built, and I just fancied building a wheel, from scratch. Custom size Sapim spokes from someone down there. I think it was like Basingstoke or something, or Brighton or something like that, or wherever it was. They hooked me up. They were really, really good. I got the sizes the sizes that I needed off the DT Swiss calculator on their website, which is really good. You can put in the rim you've got and the hub you've got and what size spokes, what size nipples it is that you're going to use, and it just spits out a number for you, and you can get them cut and made to size. So I got them made for me. Maybe it's a little bit of a splurge, but I wanted my first build to be a decent quality build and have all the parts on it that were right, because I think if you start with difficult parts or parts that aren't quite right, and then you're trying to compensate for it on something like a wheel build that you've never done before, it's a lot to learn. So I kind of just went for everything as good as it could possibly be. I've been super impressed with that wheel, considering it is my first wheel. I've had no weird changes into spoke tensions. Everything's nice and even still. Things may have loosened off a touch, but it feels even, which is the key thing. The rim's got like a 31mm internal width, so it keeps the tyre nice and fat. Clearance is, it's pretty snug down round by the linkage. I'd read that about Hightowers in 29, that some of the fatter tyres can struggle to get in there. This is a Specialized butcher grid. It's got the grip tom compound, it's tubeless ready, and it's obviously a 29er by 2.6. It's a nice fat tyre for a 29er, I guess, and it does only just fit in. Like I say, it's pretty snug in there, but I think I've got reasonable clearance for things like sort of rocks and mud, that sort of thing. But we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that, I guess. Obviously, the Hightower can be running 27.5, which is something I might do in the future. The other two guys on the channel that I ride with, they bang on about 27.5, and they like their tyres fat. I think if they could have a fat bike Hightower, maybe they probably would. I'll let them defend themselves on that one, but yeah, they like a fat tyre. I'm not so sure I like a tyre to be chunky enough, but I also do like the 29 and the roll of the 29. I need to give 27.5 a proper try. I've ridden it on their bikes, but I need to give it a try and then maybe find a balance. It may be that 27.5 is the tyre to go for this, or the wheel size to go for this. That's something I'll find out over this year, and obviously keep that updated. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of like an overview of the bike. The front wheel is the Specialized Roval Traverse 29er that came on the Enduro. I've just reused that because it works with that fork. It's fine. It's a non-boost fork, so the non-boost wheel kind of stayed with that. Like I say, I would potentially change the two as I go along. There is components that you can get that will effectively convert to to a non-boost wheel up to boost, so you can do that if I need to. The Roval Traverse is okay. I destroyed the rear pretty easily, so I'm not entirely sure how good those rims are, or those wheel builds are, I guess. The front's held up pretty well, but fronts do. The rear, like I say, the rear I snapped a couple of spokes, and the rim didn't hold up very well, so I probably wouldn't build another one of those, but then, if you build an aftermarket, you don't anyway. I've got the DT350 hub, because I like a quiet wheel. I don't like the buzz of Pro 2s or Pro 3s or Pro 4s or whatever it is up now. Some people love it, the Chris King buzz, all that kind of thing. And it is kind of cool, I guess, don't get me wrong. It's a distinctive sound, but I like a bike to be really, really quiet. I love when you're just going down the trail, you can just hear the tyres, you can just hear the trail underneath you, and that for me is what I like. So the DT hub offered that over a Pro 4 or whatever it is hub in the same budget. And obviously there's things like the ratchet system in the DT hub is really easy to service. You can upgrade it as well if you really want a faster engagement, but ultimately it's just a strong, solid hub that is nice and quiet, and that's really all I went for it for. So that's why that's built on that hub. So yeah, that's my Hightower. That's just wanted to give it a little bit of an overview, a bit of a rundown for anyone who's interested, which is probably not that many people. But yeah, it's it's my bike. This is the bike I'm going to be riding through this year. I'm going to be racing on this bike this year. I'm going to do some of the PMBA stuff. I plan to do a couple of other bits and pieces. It's going to go to Morzine. We've got a trip over to Morzine planned, so it's going to get a bit of a beating there. Might be a little bit out of its depth, but I guess we'll find out. I think there's a case for big bikes and small bikes have got their place, but I think this could probably hold its own, so I should be fine there. A few other bits and pieces planned for the year. Probably going to get down to Bike Park Wales at some point, and probably just spend a lot of time over at Farmer John's, that kind of thing, because that's pretty local to me, so that's pretty nice. But yeah, so this is the bike. It's going to be the bike for the year. It's going to be I'm not going to be changing it, contrary to what some people might probably say, because obviously what happened with the Enduro, but there'll be no more changes of frame certainly for 2019. Who knows what could come maybe after this year, because you always want to switch about and mess about with things. But for now, I'm certainly very happy with it. It's only 2 rides old, so it's not the best. It's not really a ride review. It's just a bike check, I guess. A rundown of what it is that I'm riding and what you're going to be seeing on the channel. As we get more and more content out there. Thanks very much. Do subscribe, and yeah, we'll get more stuff out there. Nice one.